everyone, hope you're well and hope you're having a good day so far. So today I'm going to share something from a preach I heard, and it's around Romans 5 and it's about hope, and we're going to call it the hope cycle. So in Romans 5 verses 1 to 5 it says, "Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we now boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." So I've got a diagram here which we're going to call the hope cycle. So what you can see is we've got hope, so it talks about our hope is in the glory of God, but it says also we glory in our sufferings, which is over on this side, and then it says in our sufferings it produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character back to hope. So when we talk about hope here, it talks about hope in the glory of God. So this isn't just our everyday hope, such as hoping that our day goes well and things are resolved. This is talking about a special hope. It's hope in the glory of God, and it's the type of hope that we talk about in Romans 8 verse 28, which says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him." So this is the hope where we believe that God takes everything and he turns it for his good, not our good, but for his good and for his glory. But it's quick to forget about hope sometimes when something bad happens in a season of suffering. So we all know that we are not exempt as Christians from suffering. It's part of just the cycle of life, but we have this hope in our sufferings. And the good thing about suffering, if there is a good thing, which there is that suffering produces perseverance. This is that endurance when you keep on going, even when you don't feel like it, even when you feel like you've got nothing left to give. It's one step in front of the other, one step at a time. And I'm sure we can all relate or remember a season in our lives when we've been in that place of suffering and perseverance. And it's those times when we have to push through, even when we don't feel like it, and just get through our day. But the beauty of suffering is you find out how strong in God you really are, and you tap into a strength that you didn't know you had. And this is where perseverance leads to character. So this is when you realise that you are stronger than you ever knew you were. You are wiser than you ever were before you went through that suffering. And God used that time to make you stronger. And it's not saying that God caused that suffering, but it's saying that God turned it for good and he used it to produce perseverance and character in you. And you look back on that season and you realise that God sustained you. God got you through something that you didn't ever think you could get through. And now you have more hope than before the suffering. And very quickly, I remember a time when I went through a season of about a year or so of what just felt like suffering after suffering. It was one thing after another, and every time you felt like things were improving, there was another kind of tidal wave, if you like it, that just hit me back, and you were back to that place of rebuilding one step at a time. And somehow I continued every day, and it was the strength of God that got me through. But I look back on that period of time now, I'm out of it, and now I'm out of that period of suffering, and I can certainly see how God used it to produce resilience in me, produce that strength, and he really built my character, and he really built perseverance and endurance in me, and most importantly, more confidence in God, and more trust in God. And this is the thing about hope and suffering, is that each time you go through that cycle, your hope gets stronger and it's your hope in God gets stronger because you experienced it, because you were there, you felt it, you dealt with it for a long period of time, or what felt like a long period of time, and you knew that God was with you, and then you knew that God sustained you and got you through it. And every time the cycle begins, you get stronger and stronger and more hopeful. And this is kind of the hope in this message, is that if you are in suffering, there is hope, and look to the good things that are coming out of it, what God is doing, even though it may be hard in the season to actually see what God is using, but I promise you He is. And it would be nice to only have one cycle at a time, but the reality is different, and we all know that we have situations going on simultaneously. We have all different hope cycles going on all around us. But this is where we've got to look to the character building, the perseverance, and we see that God will use everything and turn it for His good. So I just want to encourage you that if you're in a season of suffering and it feels like there's no way out, just remember to look to God, and remember that your hope is in the glory of God, and that there are good things that He does in these seasons too.